a lot of Nintendo is doing stuff differently, for better or worse. You do see something like the GameCube controller get a lot of praise, especially for its button layout, its amazing joystick, but, lacks a shoulder button, which, to this day, I don't know what they were thinking. In my opinion, not the best triggers if you're playing a shooting game. Now, for something like Flood and Mario Sunshine, these work great, but these are not the kind of triggers that competition had during this time. The camera stick also sucks, and the D-pad pisses me off, but that's my hot take of the week. The Wii Remote on the Wii, like the name implies, felt a lot more like a remote than an actual controller, so as an alternative, Nintendo would eventually release the classic Pro Controller, I think it's called. With this, even though we finally have our extra button, we're lacking clicking down the joystick still. Also, I feel like these buttons are way too far apart, but the D-pad's alright. And these triggers, I'm sorry, they suck. But in 2012, Nintendo had gotten closer than they've ever been yet to making a traditional controller. That being the Wii U gamepad. Now, this is by no means traditional shape-wise, but when you go down to the actual components, so as you can see, you can click down the joysticks. You have a real D-pad. The buttons, honestly, even though they are a little far apart, they don't feel horrible, even if they are a little small too. These triggers are infinitely better, and I love these bumpers. And of course, let's not forget about the big touchscreen in the middle, along with some of our TV control, home button. And, all things considered, this is a pretty good controller, but it's still not the actual traditional thing that people wanted. So, what was Nintendo's answer? Well, it was releasing something almost, just almost, to a traditional controller. That being the Wii U Pro Controller. Released alongside the Wii U in November of 2012, this is sort of the answer to a lot of people's complaints about how Nintendo just sucks at making controllers that, are like everything else. And like I said earlier in the video, they're known for making things differently. But there just comes a point where you gotta ask yourself, where do we draw the line? Where do we start doing things like everyone else? Because give it 1 year and you have the Xbox One and PS4, they are infinitely more powerful than the Wii U. In years' time, you're not doing anything with the gamepad that's really that unique. I think Nintendo Land was really the only big title that used the screen on that pretty uniquely. So people aren't really using that screen other than for basic functions like going to the home menu or scrolling down in the eShop. You kinda wish you had something like this. Nintendo was basically shredding itself down to sort of being like everyone else, where we just need to have the game on one screen, please and thank you. I know people are nostalgic about the Wii U and might have strong opinions about, whether the Wii U was actually good or not, and that's not what I'm trying to say in this video, but what I am trying to say is that to a lot of people, the Wii U Pro Controller is probably the most normal you're going to get with the Wii U. Sometimes you're playing with GameCube controllers with the adapter, sometimes you're playing with the Wii Remote, and if not, you're playing again with the big dinner plate tablet. So sometimes, just sometimes, you want to go to feel like everyone else. To be like the Xbox One and PS4 users that are striving so much better than the Wii U players. Because when you really look at it, a ton of these games can be played with just this controller. You don't need the Wii U gamepad, you don't need the Wii Remote, you can just play with a regular controller. And what exactly did they do with this? Well, we can finally click down those joysticks. That took forever. The D-pad, just like the Wii Classic Controller and Classic Controller Pro, is pretty good. The bumpers, although I would say the Wii U gamepad's ones are better, these are still pretty good. And along with that, you get a pretty long battery life every charge. I think it's like 20 hours. You barely have to charge this thing, even if you use it frequently. I want to even say that with Virtual Console Wii, you can play Xenoblade Chronicles with this thing. I'm pretty sure you can with the gamepad, but for some Wii U users during this time, the Pro Controller really was the answer. To not use that tablet that had a very short battery life. One flaw this thing has, though, is the fact that there's no headphone jack, which, for me, unfortunately, means that I don't really want to use it very often. I do like to use my earbuds, so not having an audio jack is a big flaw. Also, if you don't have the charging cable for this thing, nothing like an Android or a USB-C is going to work. You're going to have to buy its own special thing, which is what I had to do, which is kind of annoying. And another thing to point out, the joysticks are parallel to each other, which I personally don't like. It makes more sense with something like the Wii U gamepad just because of how big it is. But with something like this, I do find it a little bit odd that we don't have it down here, but I can sort of see why they were doing it. But that's why if we skip a couple generations, we can see Nintendo finally get it right. That being the Switch 2 controller. You finally have your headphone jack, your joysticks aren't parallel, you take USB-C, and both your bumpers and your triggers feel amazing. It took Nintendo quite a bit to get it right, 13 years to be exact. But the Wii U Pro Controller sort of serves as the middle of an evolution that Nintendo was going through with the GameCube, the Wii, and then the Switch and Switch 2. how despite having a lot of the check marks when it comes to being a good controller, it still lacked in some areas. And it's the reason why some people didn't go out of their way to buy it, even if they wanted a traditional controller. Also, let's not forget what they were doing before the GameCube, which is this monstrosity. The Wii U Pro controller, somehow lacking but also fulfilling at the same time. Thank you for watching, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!